Welcome to the University of Manchester's Economists Talking About series. In this episode, we will be interviewing Dr. Matheus Vianna, who completed his PhD in Brazil and is now a lecturer for the BSc Economics course at the University of Manchester. To begin, could you please tell us a little more about yourself, Dr. Vianna?
Of course. Thank you, Rushi. Thank you, the department, for the opportunity to talk a little bit more for the students. So about me, my name is Matheus. You can call me Matt for short. I'm Brazilian, as Rushi mentioned, but I also have Italian citizenship. And I did all my studies in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. I was born there, so I studied my undergrad, master's, and PhD, all of them in economics at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. But I also did a visiting research period during my PhD in Italy, right? Two other curiosities about me. I am a self-defense instructor. I have been practicing since I was 12 years old. And I am a very proud and enthusiastic nerd. I love movies, series, board games, video games, and especially role-playing games and war games like Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Vianna. So moving on to our first question, I understand that you've studied in Brazil and for some time in Italy as well. And now that you teach in the UK, what do you think are, the major academic differences between these countries?
Right, there are a lot of differences. The main one I can say is that we have a lot of public universities, right? And the public universities in Brazil, they are free of charge, right? So you don't need to pay any monthly payment or tuition fee, but they are very competitive to get in, right? They have a unified national exam. They are very competitive to get in. And on the other hand, since it's free of charge, all the funds, all the resources depend on the federal budget. And there has been a lot of cuts on education and research investments in the past few years. So maybe the infrastructure of the universities in Brazil in general, they are not as good as we would expect, right? Because of these cuts, right? In terms of the classes and activities, since they only get a small cohort each year, right? They usually allow around 30 to 60 students in each program each year. So it's much less than here. We don't have the capacity and the need to have tutorials like we have here, right? We usually only have the lectures, but on the other hand, we have more lectures during the term. Usually we have 16 weeks of lecture during the semester, right? And let me add something in terms of the economic content. My university in particular, the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, and a few other universities in Brazil, for economics, they are well known for being heterodox or at least pluralist, which is a little bit different than the mainstream economics that are usually taught around the world, right? So my institution where I study in particular, they are very well known for being pluralists. They teach different approaches, different perspectives and visions on economics, not only the mainstream economics.
Right. And following up to that, do you think it's important for students in university, especially doing an economics degree, to get more of, as you say, a pluralist view to economics? Or do you think at, suppose, an undergraduate level, just the mainstream views are enough?
Well, I am a little bit biased to say that because I was trained as a pluralist, but I think the university, more than training students to be professionals, to go to the job market just after the university, I think the university should create free and critical thinkers, right? And as economists, this is very important for us because we have social responsibilities, right? Our decisions matter for a lot of people. as economists. So we need to be critical. We need to think on the problems from different perspectives, from different angles, right? So in my view, I would say that it is very important for the students, even on the undergrad level, at least to know that there are different visions. They don't need to be experts in all the different approaches, but they need to be aware that there are different visions and angles to see the same problem, not only one single model, right? One single model will never solve all the problems we need to solve in economics.
Exactly. And what motivated you to kind of go on to do a postgraduate and then a PhD?
I always loved teaching, so I thought since I was a kid, since my first year at the undergrad, I was a kind of junior teaching assistant. I also taught self-defense, Krav Maga, so I always loved giving a little bit of what I know to other people, right? So that was always my main motivation for pursue this academic career, to teach, to be able to reach new generations of students, of economists, and just give them a little bit of what I can give, right? So yeah, that's why I pursued this career.
Right. And I understand that you have a specialization in macroeconomics and data analysis. So how do you go about choosing a specialization, and why did you particularly choose this field?
Yes, macroeconomics always interested me more than the other areas, right? But today, after 10, 12 years of studying, I have a different view that macro is related to everything else. It is related to micro, it is related to development. So I don't, I would say that I am a macroeconomist, but with interests in different topics and relationships with macro. And in relation to data analysis, I think data analysis is a tool, right? I'm not an expert, I'm not an econometrician, but it is a tool. It is a tool that everyone needs to know, right? So even a macroeconomist or a microeconomist, they need to be aware and to use these tools to enhance their work, right? So I used, in my PhD, I developed a complex simulation model, a macro model with different sectors, with firms interacting. So I had to code a lot to create this model on the computer. And of course, this model generated a lot of simulation data, right? So I needed to learn data analysis tools to be able to analyze my own theoretical model, right? So this is a tool. It's not I don't think it's something that economists should specialize, but they should know. They should know, like you know how to use your computer. The computer is a tool, right? Yeah.
All right. So just to finish off, do you have any advice for students who are currently at university or maybe looking to get into university on how to make the most out of their degrees?
Right. An advice how to get the most. I would say that I always say that to my students. I don't think the students should be focusing on the marks, on the exams. I really feel for the students when they want to know all the details of the exam and not the content and not the theory and the discussions we are having, right? Because if you are engaged on the material, on the topic, if you go for it, if you learn more, if you research more things, if you read other papers, the exam, your marks, your grades will be a consequence, right? So if you are engaged, if you are interested, you will, as a consequence, get good grades, good marks. So my advice would be to remove the focus on the exam, on how to do the exam, or to study before the exam, for the exam, and to be motivated and engaged in the content, right? I know I've been a student. I know we have a lot of stuff to do. It's hard to engage in everything. And sometimes in some units, yes, you just need to study for the exam to pass. I understand. I've been there. But now looking back, that would be my advice. Try to get the most of the content, to try to understand the context, the context of the topics, who are the people who develop this, who are they dialoguing with, in which, where it was created, this theory or this topic, right? Everything that involves the topic should motivate you, should make you engage more with the content, read more, research news articles or other scientific papers related to that. And this will naturally boost your interest. And of course, you, as a consequence, you get good grades.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for your time and insight, Dr. Vianna. Remember to come back next time for our next interview with another exciting economist.
Thank you very much.